Incredible, isn't it? Three kids on the same team that came in the same class. I remember distinctly a practice we had when they were freshmen. It was in the preseason. We hadn't played any games. We were practicing in the auxiliary gym, and after the practice was over, we had our group of starters and returning players, and we were playing them against the younger kids, working on some stuff. And after the practice was over, I called that group together. There were 4 of them in that class, and I said, I don't know if you guys see it or if you guys know it, but I think you're a pretty special class. And they were like, oh, we see it. We think we're gonna really do some great things. And now look at them, 3 kids with 1,000 points under their belt, and they've done so much, for the program. So it's exciting, and it's really cool that it happened. Corey's happened last year, and Monty and Kirsten's happened, back-to-back games. It's a pretty neat thing.
Did you envision them 4 years ago getting to this level, or?
I did. Actually, after their freshman year, there was some frustration about, wanting, of course, every freshman wants more playing time, and they knew that they were, going to be a great college player. Each one of them knew that. Corey got a chance to start as a freshman. The other 2 were intermittently starting due to injuries. But I remember pulling them in after their freshman year, and I had made, on my computer, I had made a chart that showed my previous 1,000-point scorers. Ashley Schrock, Shannon Sword, Dominique Butler, Shanita Garland, all those kids, and I charted what they had done their freshman year, their sophomore year, their junior year, their senior year. And when I brought those kids in, I was like, look, Imani, you scored 3.5 points a game your freshman year. And I'm telling you that you're going to be a 1,000-point scorer here. You probably think I'm crazy. But look at what Shanita Garland did her freshman year. Look what Dominique Butler did her freshman year. Look what Kaylee Klein did her freshman year. Now, Kaylee Klein was a little bit different. She was a scorer right out of the gates. But I just showed them, but look what has to happen in order for you to progress like that. Look what they did their sophomore year, big jump. Look what they did their junior year, bigger jump. So we sort of showed them what their future could hold if everybody stayed focused and continued to improve their game. And as you look at, I still have that chart, and they're in the midst of it now, and you can see that they were right on track with all the other kids who reached that milestone. And it's a milestone that very few collegiate players reach. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, you hear about people being honored for their 1,000 points, but there's not many of them that, I guess from a percentage standpoint, that reach this. To have 3 on the same team in the same class, that's pretty amazing.
Start conference play on Thursday. What does you just talk about the conference this year? What you see in it? It looks like there's going to be lots of challengers this year.
Yeah. Well, we have a really strong conference this
Yes,
year, and if you look at, as I do, I'm a numbers person, so I get absorbed with all the numbers and statistics and all of that kind of thing. But if you look at conference RPI right now, when I first got here, the conference RPI was like 20 out of maybe 25 conferences, and that was a really big, I guess, point of emphasis in our league was how do we make our league a better league. And the coaches invested in that. The Horizon League invested in that. We talked about, playing a better schedule. We talked about getting better players, being more competitive, and the conference started to rise. And over the last several years, we've hovered around, anywhere between 13 and 8, probably 13 and 15 from a conference standpoint. Right now, currently, our conference stands 5th in the country in RPI. We've got several teams who are winning a lot of games, and it's really a great thing for our conference from the perspective of looking forward and seeing how we're going to manage this conference. It's a tall task. I mean, we've got a lot of good players and a lot of good teams in this conference, so looking forward to quite a battle.
Talk about Valpo and I'm sure you've looked at them at least on tape. What have you seen out of them?
Well, Valpo can really shoot the ball. All their perimeter players can shoot it from the three-point line, and they all do. they also have the ability to drive. So, typically when we're scouting teams, we're saying this is a shoot first kid or this is a penetration first kid. These guys all can shoot it, and there's a few of them that are going to shoot it in transition. They're going to shoot quickly when they push the ball up the floor, and they spread you wide out. We worked on defending their transition yesterday and getting a hand up, on the shooters. So that's going to be a concern for us. But these kids can also drive it to the basket. So they get you really spread out, and then they have big gaps to drive. So we've got to be sound defensively. We have to help in the gaps. We have to be able to get to shooters with the hand up and be prepared to get in a stance and slide with the penetrator. So they have really all of the pieces. They're a little young. So their record doesn't reflect, the type of team that they're going to become. But they've played a pretty tough schedule, and they're going to be a challenge for us to defend because they have the ability to really shoot it from the perimeter. We hit eight and a half threes a game. They hit 7.8 threes a game. So they're right there. I mean, they shoot it as much as we do from the perimeter and really can draw us out. So that'll be a challenge for us.
How is your size relative to the rest of the conference?
We're always small. We're always small. My biggest kids are freshmen, and so they still need game experience and that type of thing. But we try to be quicker, be more physical, be more explosive, and so the kids. I have my 4 and 5 are both 5'10", and other schools. Other teams that we play against probably have 6'1", maybe 6'2" on the inside. We're on a 5-out motion. If we're trying to get to the offensive boards, we would like to believe that we're bringing your bigs away from the basket and that we can out-quick you to get that offensive board. We have matchup issues. Yes, we do. And hopefully we present a matchup issue. So hopefully that balances out. But we've always dealt with a size issue. As long as I've been here, we've never been a big team, and but our athleticism and quickness hopefully will balance that out.
Now that you're in the conference, will your taller freshmen will they get to see time? Will they struggle to get time? Do you think? Or
Well, I've got to play some kids off the bench, and right now we don't have many kids, so we're going to have to play kids before they're really ready, and they always think they're ready, but where they're at right now, they're going to get so much better. So we're going to have to play some young kids. Yes, we're going to have to play we have 3 big freshman players, and we're going to have to play one of those 3 every game. So I think you'll see that. Without those 3, we're only 7 deep. So I believe I have to play 8 a game. Whether we go any deeper than that, and that 8th player isn't going to be consistent all year long. It's going to change based on what I see in practice, based on our matchups. That's sort of the carousel that goes around on the, near the end of the bench that consistently rotates, and they just have to all be ready to play in any given game. So hopefully they will be.
Do you think the non-league games you had prepared you well enough? I mean, you'll know after you've played some conference games. But
well, I think we played some pretty tough teams. I think we saw a good mix of athleticism. We saw athleticism. We saw skill. We saw teams that like to really run and push the ball. We saw teams that like to sit in a half-court offense. We played against some big teams, and we played against both man and zone. And so I think that it was a decent mix of what we need to prepare for these games. As I told my team after our last non-conference game, I think that at this point we might throw in a new inbounds play, might throw in a new quick hitter, but we pretty much have everything in that we're going to be running, if it's press breakers or presses or half-court defenses or half-court offenses. Those things are in place. Now we just have to get better at them and execute them better and continue to grow in those areas that we've already put together.
With the exception of Niagara, it's been a really you've played a lot of close games.
Yeah.
You envision this as kind of the style, or you're just going to have to get used to playing close games with opponents?
Unfortunately, I think that is accurate. You know, you can look at any team on our list, and you know, teams, the ones that we beat in the non-conference or the teams that we played, they could have a great record and be a great team, and we played them close. They could have a poor record and be an average team, and we played them close. Why is that? Well, I have theories about that, and our team, you know, talks about that. We just, you know, I think if teams have the ability to really score the ball, if they're good offensively, we're going to have trouble defending them. We're just not where we need to be defensively. I think that's the biggest thing. Our team knows that. That's not a secret. So we find ourselves basically trying to outscore opponents. That's the situation we get in. We got off to a nice lead in our last game, up 13 at halftime. We hit a scoring lull, and when we did that, they caught back up, even took the lead, and then it just became a battle, you know, back and forth. So that was the situation we're in. But what I do appreciate about this team is that we have embraced the fact that that may be how it is. That may be the situation we're in. And what happens in those last 5 minutes will determine whether that game's a win or a loss. And in the number of games that we've had that have been close, which is every game really, except with the exception of 2 games maybe, the Minnesota game, the Niagara game, with the exception of those games, we have been pretty successful in pulling out the win. And as I said, they've all been very close. So what I'm seeing with especially the seniors is the poise and the recognition of what has to happen possession by possession. You know, and then we review that portion of the games, you know, the following day, talking about where did we make good decisions, how did we want to handle the ball, what did we want to do defensively, what were the, you know, things that we did that were really smart basketball, and what were the things that maybe we shouldn't have done, because we need to prepare for more games like that, because I believe that until we can iron out defensively, getting, you know, consistent and consecutive stops defensively, we're going to be in that type of a situation, and we have to manage those minutes, especially down the end of the game. And I don't see the panic, I don't see the frustration that we used to see when we'd be in a close game, somebody turn it over and it's like, you know, what are you thinking? It is what it is. We'll figure it out, and we've done a good job of figuring it out at the end of the game. It's not easy to watch. You know, the fans say it's exciting. I don't know if it's exciting or not. It's not easy to watch us be in those type of situations. I want them to be able to break open a game. I think that would really help their confidence, but we're not in a situation where we're you know, I think affected by the fact that it's a close game. I think we're just saying this is what it is, and we're getting through it. And I'm proud of that. I think, you know, with less experience, with kids who, you know, aren't embracing that, we could be, you know, in a much different place. I mean, we could be in a much different place. So I'm pleased with the way they're handling it down the stretch. I would love for it to not be that way, but I think you know, they're learning to win the close games, and that's, I guess, something that hopefully will be valuable later in the year.